Well, hello, everybody. I'm back. Did you miss me? I hope you did. Don't you dare say no. I know Clay does a great job of holding down the fort, but I missed you guys and I miss hanging out with Clay. So, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Like I said last week, it's the banter. I love the banter, right?
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
so
it's,
fun.
it's always good to go back and forth. That's why the show works. That's why we do it together. So nobody wants to listen to me run my head for an hour. Not at least not every week. So I think it's better together.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And boy, oh boy, I'm looking at our list here. We've got a full plate. So we're going to hurry up and get our intro out of the way. And then we're going to get right down to business, guys. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Oh my goodness. So many things. So many things. It's always hard to like narrow it down, isn't it?
Yeah.
I noticed, and I'm sure you've noticed too, that I've been kind of leaving that to you a lot lately. I wait to the last minute. I'm like, come on, Clay, send over some topics, send them over. And he's like, no problem. I got them. Boom. So yes, Clay is the mastermind. I'd say lately, like 90% of the time for our topics. So thank you.
Yeah, it works. I mean, I'm a news junkie just like everybody else. So, it's nice. We talk about, like you said, about 90% of what I want to talk about. So I'm not complaining.
It's a good
Today's New
deal.
Hampshire. Today's
I
New
love the
Hampshire, right?
topic. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's the
Today's New
great
Hampshire.
banter.
That's where we're
And
going.
yeah, and for me, like having you on the show with me, you're like a source of education for me because you have such a different background than I do. So, I mean, it's kind of like I don't know, it's like a free course for me. I get to get some information that or a perspective that I just didn't have or wouldn't have known. And tonight's not going to be an exception to that. I'm actually really looking forward to getting into our what is it technically our second topic, but I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Let's start with some. To me, it was a surprise. GOP race, DeSantis. That was a surprise to me. I
Yeah.
didn't see it coming. Did you?
No, I mean, from the show last week, I said I thought that, Trump, DeSantis, and Nikki Haley were going to fight it out.
Yeah.
In my head, it was to like May, give or take a little bit. That's where
Mhm.
it was going to go. I really did not expect, what was it, the day after or 2 days after Iowa, for him to bail. And I know that I talked about it last week that he and Nikki Haley were getting a ton of pressure from the party
Yes.
and some bigwigs within the party to back out, leave it to Trump, and just move forward.
Hmm.
I did not I did not expect him to bail. Not
I
that quick
didn't.
way.
I didn't.
Totally.
If somebody had like, put their thumb down on me and said, which one's gonna drop? Which one? You have to pick one. I would have guessed Haley. I would have guessed her. And shame on me because I would have been wrong. But I have to tell you, part of me, and maybe it's like this sketch comedy brain that I have that everything goes there. I just picture like this, like argument between the two, between Nikki and Ron, and them going back and forth. I'm not you do I'm not gonna you do it, just like this back and forth of,
Yeah.
or maybe a race to be the first one to do it so they're not the last man standing. And I think that was exactly the case. Like, I don't want to be the one. I don't want to be the one to get, just beat so embarrassingly. I thought it was a brilliant move on his part in the circumstances of where they were at for him to say, you know what, I'm done. And endorsing Trump was a very smart thing to do.
So I think that was all. My guess is a deal was made. My guess is a deal was offered to both. And I think that DeSantis was the guy who turned stoolie. He's the guy. He's the guy who gave everybody else up and went state's evidence and took the.
Yes.
So my guess is that the party came to him and said, "Listen, no matter what, there's only 4 more years. So if Trump wins, 2028, we're going to need a new candidate. If you
Mhm.
drop out now, 2028's you. We're just going to give it to you, and just go from there."
Right.
My guess, and oh, by the way, he's got to endorse Trump on the way out. Like that was all worked in the mix. So,
Yes.
I think he's just going to hold it down in Florida for the next 4 years.
Mhm.
I think that he comes out to be the front runner in 2028 for the GOP, no matter what happens. And oh, by the way, I'm sure that negotiated in there, I'm sure, is an endorsement from Trump on his way out of office. Like
Yes.
it's a give and take. It's a you
Right.
scratch my back, I scratch yours kind of thing. But I guarantee you that something like that happened behind closed doors to say, you got to back out. And here's the benefit of it. And it wouldn't surprise me if it was also offered to Nikki and she either flinched, just that little bit of hesitation where DeSantis was like, I'll take it. Or if she said, nope, I'm not doing it. And he said, well, if you're not doing it, then I'm gonna. And he took the deal. So none of that happens. Like you said, the sketch comedy thing, actually, that I can picture that. I really could picture that.
Right.
It would be a great Saturday Night Live sketch. Truthfully.
Yes.
But I think in this case, I think it was orchestrated by the party. And I think that the gentle pushes publicly in the wake of Iowa were setting the stage for exactly what happened, which is, DeSantis backed out and endorsed Trump. And then I think 4 years from now, you can count on him being the guy. He's going to be the number one.
Which I'll tell you what, and I know there's a lot of people that disagree, and there's so much chatter about every single aspect of this. Personally, I have loved Ron DeSantis as governor of Florida. I love him wholeheartedly. Everything that he's done there, huge fan. I absolutely 100% wanted to see him run, but I said all along, and you can all go back and check and make sure I'm not making it up. I said all along, I just wanted him to wait. And so in my mind, this is kind of like, the best possible outcome of what could have happened. And I think you're totally right. I think there's a lot of face saving going on and all of that. We have, we have a little bit of DeSantis. We've got a little bit of what everybody said. So let's take a look at what DeSantis actually said in his speech, just part of it.
My endorsement, because we can't go back to the old Republican guard of yesteryear, a repackaged form of warmed over corporatism that Nikki Haley represents.
Yeah. So, yep. I mean, as soon as I saw it, I kind of had this sigh of relief because I really did not want to see parting shots, like let's just, I'm really happy. And then 10 times happier with Trump right now for this.
Really terrific person who had gotten to know his wife, Casey, for having run a great campaign for president. He did. He ran a really good campaign. I will tell you, it's not easy. They think it's easy doing this stuff, right? It's not easy. But as you know, he left the campaign trail today at 3 p.m. And in so doing, he was very gracious and he endorsed me. So I appreciate it. I appreciate that. And I also look forward to working with Ron and everybody else to defeat crooked Joe Biden. We will have to get him out. We have to get him out. So I just want to thank Ron and congratulate him on doing a very good job. It's a tough situation. It's a tough thing to do.
I love it. That makes me happy. Listen, I don't care if they're both bullshitting. Don't care if they hate each other. I really don't. Hate each other, talk smack behind each other's or behind closed doors, whatever. It doesn't even matter. Put on a good public face, do the right thing. They both have. I'm very pleased with that. Of course, which leads people to run rampant with, is he going to be the running mate? I don't see it, but I can't imagine that. I've said it before. You and I have talked about this before. You got two alphas. It's not going to work. I'd be shocked. And I don't like being wrong, so he better not pick them. But just for the sake of my sake, that's it. Nothing else.
No, you're right. If you go back to the show where you and I kind of picked our non-Trump favorites, you said DeSantis, and you said it from the beginning that you preferred 2028 versus 2024. Yep. You said that. I said that Nikki was the most electable. Kudos to us for picking the last two left, but you're dead on. You're dead on with your pick. I think, like you said about President Trump, is that right there. It's the President Trump that we all need. We don't need the tweeting. We don't need the, Ron DeSanctimonious, but all that stuff. We don't need that. And that's the face that he showed, like you said, public face, good public face. That's what we need. That's what we need out of our president. Period. And that's what you and I and many, many, many other people didn't like about President Trump.
Right.
Was the offhanded crap comments. They were unnecessary. And for him to handle it that cleanly with that much grace, calmly, that's what we need, and we need more of that. Right. I'm better with that than the mean tweets Trump.
Absolutely, 100%. And I know that there's people that love that's like their favorite part. And we need our party needs to be a united party. We can't have what we've had. We cannot keep going with the divided everything. This is, and like Trump said in the speech, it's time for everybody to come together and defeat Biden and this whole this crazy Democrat regime is what it is. They have to go because the state of this country, it's seriously, quite literally depends on getting them out of power, really. And I'm not saying everything is going to suddenly be perfect and hearts and roses and flowers and everything will be amazing. But I have hope that it will turn the tide, or at least begin to. We've got a long road of recovery to go here, but.
And today is New Hampshire. So as you and I are recording this, we're recording this on Tuesday, so everybody knows. Right now, as we speak, the initial polling stuff from New Hampshire is supposed to be coming in. You and I don't know how that's going to pan out. That will all be out by the time this airs. But Nikki won the 6 midnight votes last night that they do as a tradition in New Hampshire, which I guess is fading very quickly. It used to be three polling sites. Now it's down to one. Wow. Because they said it was just too hard for their growing elderly population to get out of bed to go vote at midnight. It's just kind of a thing. So they had one location, 6 voters, 4 Republicans, 2 independents. They all voted for Nikki Haley. So she got the first little kind of strike of the night last night. But that means absolutely nothing. It's a tradition. It's kind of a cool thing, feather in her cap, whatever. But today's New Hampshire. It's the next step in the process, and it is a long way. And we've already been talking about this for, it seems like, since I jumped on here with you way back in August, and it hasn't slowed down, and it's not going to slow down.
Right.
The rumors about Michelle Obama are picking up, though.
Yep.
They tapered off a little bit, but they're coming back. Supposedly, there's been some probing of donors, big money Democratic donors, to see how they feel about her running, and the potential for President Biden to step out of the race in midsummer, and her to just step in and replace him. I've heard that on a number of different news outlets, both conservative and liberal, blue and red. So we have a long way to go, and there's going to be a lot of twists and turns before it's over with.
Yeah, there really is. You weren't wrong there. And, I'm certainly curious as to, if Gavin Newsom has fallen out of grace for this to start taking momentum. So he must have done something to make somebody mad, or maybe they just, maybe within his own party, nobody likes him. Who knows? I don't know. Because he was looking like their shiny new penny for a hot minute. And now not so much. Like you said, it's the buzz over Michelle Obama. So we shall see. They're never going to stop giving us things.
My guess on the Newsom thing was the trip to Mexico with the Clintons was to pull him aside and tell him you're off the list.
Oof. Yeah, that could be
a very graceful way to take him out golfing, and somewhere on the 13th hole to go, sorry, pal, you're done. We're going in a different direction.
It's kind of like that nice little neck grab, and they just.
You got to be careful saying that about the Clintons, though.
Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
Don't do that. I don't want to host a show by myself forever.
Right. Listen, I just want everybody to know I have no suicidal thoughts. I don't even know if I can keep that in there or not. We're gonna have to decide. Yeah. Whatever. Live dangerously. Oh my goodness. What do we want to talk about next? We have those 3 topics. Which one you want to roll into next?
So I think, and it's probably the next big topic, is what's going on in the Middle East. And you and I have talked about really the Hamas-Israel thing before. It's growing bigger, right? I think what everybody's seeing in the news is there's been, response into Yemen, attack, responding to attacks from Houthi rebels who have pretty sophisticated weaponry, right? When you hear Houthi rebels, it sounds like some sand people from Star Wars, right?
That's exactly what it sounds like. Yes.
Right? You're living out in the desert, riding, camels and horseback. And that's not who these people are. This is a legitimate terrorist organization with advanced weaponry. In fact, the latest strikes hit an underground weapons storage facility. Like these people are not screwing around. They
have big backers, right? I mean, what did I read? The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps.
Yeah. So
Hezbollah,
out of
right?
Iran, IRGC, right? And that's kind of the point is Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah are all Iranian-backed, all of them. There's also strikes by the Pakistanis into Iran this week because Iran is doing what the Taliban did for Al-Qaeda. So Iran is actually providing safe harbor for terrorist organizations running attacks into Pakistan. So now the Pakistanis are attacking into Iran, right? So it's all tied together. And you can go back as far as you want, Iran-Iraq war back in the 80s. You can go back to when I was in Iraq and those like me, we knew we were fighting against Iranian-backed terrorist organizations. We knew from the equipment that they had and the technology that they were using that these weren't second-class citizens. They weren't just people picking up a rifle out of the dirt. We knew that they were backed by Iran. This is about, and I am including everything going on in Israel right now. This is about Iran destabilizing the Middle East so they can take control of all of it. They want Israel gone off the face of the planet, right? They want attacks into Saudi Arabia. They all of that. They want to own everything. That's why they were trying to go nuclear power and nuclear weapon capable, is they wanted a big seat at the table so that they could negotiate or overpower their local neighbors into submission. This is all Iranian based, every bit of it. Hezbollah, Hamas, all of it. It's all coming out of Iran.
Right. And now the $1 million question or debate or argument is what is and what should be our role in all of this. And of course, you're going to get answers, and we have answers from both sides of the spectrum of what people think should be done. There's obviously people, and most of the people, including myself, are people who don't really know enough to be saying anything at all, really, without any authority, at least, and of course, but you're going to have people who are saying, well, we should just get out of there and have nothing to do with it. Let them figure it out. That's their problem. And then, of course, the other side, well, you can't do that, and to me, this is where my thinking is you can't just wash your hands of it and walk away. You have to be a part of this in some capacity, whether it's providing aid. I mean, you can't do that to Israel first and foremost. It's an absolutely not. But I guess the question I have for you, if you're even able to answer it, is what level of involvement should we have?
So at this point, my opinion is we keep doing what we're doing. So what most people, I think people know and realize is that we do still have a capable force inside of Iraq. They operate in Iraq. They operate into Syria. They're fighting, terrorist organizations on a somewhat regular basis. That needs to continue. A presence there is one of the most important things.
Yep.
And for nothing else, it gives us access, right? It gives us a way in if we need to bring in more. As long as there's people already there, because then you don't have to fight your way in to get there, which is never a good thing. So that needs to continue. The retaliatory airstrikes, need to continue. But I would go one higher in that, and it along the lines of, it was the Untouchables movie, right? Sean Connery, everybody loves him. They send one of yours to the hospital, you send one of theirs to the morgue. Like that's how this has got to go, right? If they if they punch you, you hit them with a hammer. If they hit you with a hammer, you hit them with a car, right? You've got to continue to escalate, kind of in a general sense, in a slow pace, right? You don't want to go from, low level kind of precision strikes to massive carpet bombing kind of stuff. We don't need to go that direction. But
and there are people who want to go in that direction.
There's always
just
war hawks.
annihilate, just wipe them off the planet. And
that does nobody any good. It does nobody any good. But we need to continue to back the Saudis and the Kuwaitis and the Iraqis, truthfully. The presence is important. We cannot walk away from Israel. We won't, but we can't. I know there's free Palestine, free Gaza, blah, blah, blah. That's because everybody thinks it's about the Palestinians, has little to do with the Palestinians and a lot to do with the Iranians. So our focus truthfully needs to be on Iran. And that's where we need to continue to look. I know that we're kind of fighting it proxy wise. The Houthis got it. Hamas through Israel got it. Hezbollah, as they operate in Libya and Syria and other places, got it. Back the Pakistanis, which is always a little dicey proposition, but back them as they strike into Iran too. So we don't have to, at this point, get directly involved. We can leave it as a proxy fight or a low-level, low-intensity conflict kind of thing. but we cannot, like you said, walk away. We absolutely cannot do that, because if we walk away, then we've got to fight our way back in. And think of it in these terms. What would it look like right now if we wanted to go back into Afghanistan? Do you know how hard that would be? You know how extremely difficult that would be to go back in Afghanistan? It's a landlocked country. There are no ports. You're talking about having to come in by air, having to come in over roads from Pakistan. There's only about 4 gates, 4 passageways. It's almost impossible to do it again. So especially now that we've given them a whole bunch of modern equipment. But anyway, we don't want to have to do that, in Iraq, Syria, Saudi Arabia, that area either. We don't want to have to fight our way back in, so we can't leave. But we do have to stay there, and we've got to keep these kind of lower level attacks at bay with a stiff response. That's where I sit. I think that's kind of the tactic, the strategy right now. I don't see us doing. I hope to God we are not escalating. That would be for no reason. I think it would be a huge mistake. But like you said, there's war hawks out there that are asking for it. I can guarantee you the entire defense industry is asking for it. And everybody's connected to the defense industry is asking for it. Sure. But I as somebody who did, 5 total tours to Iraq, 3 to Afghanistan, I don't hope for, and I certainly don't desire a massive U.S. troop buildup to go through that stuff all over again. We have enough recruiting problems as it is. Right. And
We've talked about that.
Yeah, our military is in a state right now. We can't afford to go in there heavy-handed. We just can't. So I think the path that we're on is a good one. And I think that as long as we continue to keep this at a low level and we don't super escalate it, then I think we're doing okay.
So when Trump was in office, he had essentially, if not literally and totally, brokered peace in the Middle East. I mean, he was being looked at for a Nobel Peace Prize.
He was.
What, if you could, and it's okay if you can't, but I know with your background and your knowledge, could you or would you speculate on what Trump would do if he's reelected, with this situation? Do you think he'll come in heavy-handed? Do you think he will maintain? I mean, what do you think he would do? Any ideas?
I do. I think he will flip, because if you remember, one of the primary things that he did was it was economic moves against Iran. And that's kind of what slowed things down. And then President Biden got into office and he flipped everything over, right? We started buying all kinds of stuff. Horrible mistake. It gave them, and it's not even about money. It really is about pride. It's about arrogance for them. It's about, I stood up to the Americans. It's all of those things. And that in that culture goes a long, long way. But I think President Trump will go right back in the same direction. And he will catch a lot of shit from people, because he'll turn the spigot off and he will choke them economically. He will choke them through trade. He will put Iran in a hurt locker. And what that does, unfortunately, is it puts the people of Iran into a bad position. They will be, it'll be hard on food. It'll be hard on all of the amenities of life that people are used to. But it worked, and it will work again. And I promise you, that's the first thing that he's going to do regarding the Middle East if he gets reelected, is he is going to shut all of that back off again.
I can't wait for the "I told you so" moment that we're going to have.
That will be step one, guaranteed. Yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's it's a sad, frustrating, unending situation. I mean, obviously, as we all know, this has been going on there for centuries, basically. So there is no fix to it. There's basically band-aids, right? I mean, there's band-aids and maintenance, and it's tough. There's a no-win. I mean, if we could figure it out in this show, I think we'd be getting the Nobel Peace Prize, right? Because nobody else has been able to solve that problem there. And
well, it's it's like you said, over history, right? That region will always find a reason to fight each other, whether it's Muslim versus Christian. Go all the way back to the Crusades if you want to, right? Muslims versus Christians, modern day radical Muslims, right? Versus Christians versus the West in general, right? Which they lump all of the West together. And even if you take that out of the picture, then it's, them versus Israel. And even if you take that out of the picture, then you've got Shia versus Sunni, right? They'll start killing each other. Or it's, against the Kurds, right? They'll find a reason to kill each other. And it just never goes away. That's why peace in the Middle East is impossible, or pretty damn close, because they'll find somebody else to kill. They will, for whatever reason. It's a never-ending story there. I think the closest we've gotten was President Trump, because he put the spurs to everybody and said, listen, knock it off, or we're going to choke you to death. Economically, you'll have nothing. No oil money, no nothing. And it was working. So we'll see what happens.
Yes, we shall. Oh my goodness. All right. Bringing it back to home soil here, right? The next topic we're talking about is student loan forgiveness. Now, this is timing is everything, isn't it? This has been talked about for how long, and all of a sudden they were able to just, speed this up. I think I read that it was slated to happen July of 24, and here we are in February. And what was the number, Clay? 74,000?
Yeah, it was in 74,000 people with a grand total of like 4.9 billion, I think, in this onset of money. So the 74,000 people who are getting loan relief, okay, and there's a couple of different ways they're doing this. They're adjusting pay rates and pay times and giving people credit for payments and some other things. But this is the second round of this. It's been, originally I think they asked for $400 billion, something like that. It was some astronomical amount of money, and the Supreme Court said no, and they shut it off. So instead of one lump sum, what they've done is they've broken it apart and they're sneaking it in. Now, in this case, from what I have read, if you want to call it, the most deserving people are the ones getting loan relief in this iteration, which are teachers, social workers, civil servants. So the people who need the education to do their job, but make the least amount of money when they do their job, are the people who are getting loan relief. So while I am not, and I don't know where you sit on this, while I'm not a fan of the loan forgiveness, loan relief, if they're going to pick people, these are the people, right?
Yes.
This is, if you have,
agreed,
it's forced on you, this is the population we want to get it.
Right. Yeah, I absolutely agree on both parts. Not a fan. I find it, in the general conversation, highly offensive when you think of all the people before this who have worked their asses off and done all of the right things and lived for years in debt, struggling to pay off those loans, and did it. You think about that. You think about all of those people who did everything they were supposed to do. And now here are these people, or potentially, we'll say, because I agree with you. If anyone's going to get this, if this is going to happen for anyone, yes, people who are serving their communities, essential people, really, we're talking about, like you said, teachers, I think firefighters were on the list,
social workers, civil servants.
Public servants. Absolutely. So yes, that if there's a silver lining to what they're doing, I guess that would be it, that these are a very deserving class of people because of what they put back into society. So for that, okay, and brilliant move. One of the very few brilliant moves, I think, on this administration's part to do it that way, because the backlash, if it was just a Joe Schmo loafing on his parents' basement couch, getting all his loans forgiven, there'd be one heck of an uproar, right?
Yeah, the kid with the $180,000 in debt for his pre-law degree from Harvard. I'm not on that. But
no, absolutely not.
Yeah, to go back to your point about the people that worked their ass off and did all the right things, and they took their loans out, or they did what waited tables or bartended or whatever they had to do to pay their way through college. Those are the people that are really the most upset about this. Some people don't care. They don't until their taxes go up, because again, none of this is free.
Right.
Okay?
Where does the money come from? And that was, I'm glad you said that, because that was going to be the next question, really. Like, where does it just fall out of the sky? Is it just magic money? When they say they're erasing student debt, that's very misleading, because banks need to get paid, loans need to get repaid. So who's paying it? Oh, guess what? We all are.
Yeah. So really, there's a couple things in here. I think this has the potential to really upend the cost of higher education. Some universities, are going to probably take some flack over this, and they're going to learn. People are going to understand just how overvalued monetarily. Not in, the value of education is immeasurable. I'm a firm believer in that. But the monetary value attached to higher education in this country is crazy.
Yes.
And that's what's really coming to bear, or coming to light, is, not only does it cost more than it should, but it also, like the lending, processes, and, some of the way the interest works, and some of the all of that stuff, it's all, on the verge of criminal, I think, in a lot of cases.
Absolutely.
So that's all of that's kind of coming to a head, which is a good thing. I think we all need to reevaluate the value of college, and weigh that against massive amounts of debt versus, working your way through, or I don't know, go to trade school, make, more than college graduate does, 6 months to a year after you're done with trade school.
Yes.
But by the way, I come from that family, right? I come from the blue collar. My dad's a retired sheet metal guy, and that's a good living. Okay,
I love it.
It's tough. It's tough. It's dirty hands work. God love all of them. All the tradesmen out there. Everybody belongs to the trades. Good for all of you. But at the same time, we do need to reevaluate monetarily what college is worth.
Absolutely.
And my last little soapbox thing is, listen. That recruiting office was open to just about everybody, right? My daughter went to a private university, paid for with my GI Bill.
Wow.
Post 9/11 GI Bill, you could transfer it to your family members. My daughter got an education there's no way I would have been able to afford had it not been for GI Bill. But let me tell you that I earned that, right? And I chose to give that to her. And that opportunity exists for everybody. And all of us pre 9/11 guys, like, it was not uncommon back in the day to ask, a young man or a young woman, hey, why'd you join the Army?
Right.
College money. That was, I think
that was the incentive. Yes. Yeah. That was always the incentive.
Oh,
yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Very few people went into the Army back then were like, I'm making this a career. Everybody was going for college money. And then, for some reason it all kind of faded away. But that, I think, is one of those things that they need to use to kind of fix our recruiting problem. But again, for everybody who, feels shorted a little bit, who worked their ass off or did what I did, and those are the people I think are getting really kind of screwed out of this, because it's their taxes, it's their tax dollars that are going to pay off these loans or this loan forgiveness or whatever.
Not only did they pay off their own loans, now they're paying off everybody else's.
That's right. And it's
quite a slap in the face, really. Yep. And I don't know how you undo that, because it's just simply not cool. To simplify it, to dumb it down, it is not cool at all. And I feel for those people as well. And we were going back to, you said, what your family, your upbringing was like. And I have an older brother. Now I have a bunch of add-on bonus siblings. But growing up, it was just my older brother and I. And it was always just simply expected that we would go to college. Like, it wasn't really much of a conversation. Now, my brother went. I was a slacker. What a surprise, Clay. I was a troublemaker. I was a bad seed. I was the black sheep. And so then they were like, well, okay, maybe some kind of trade school would be better for you. I was so off. I was such a brat. But but that was the mindset that we grew up. My parents were working class also. My mom was mostly a stay-at-home. She was a hairdresser, but mostly stay at home raising us. And my father was the breadwinner. Very, very traditional, classic upbringing for our eras, our generation. And but that was always like the thing. It was just drilled into our heads, and that was the course. Like, you go to your 12 years, and then you go to college, and then you get a job, and then you work, and you pay off your debts, and you live, and then you die. But yes, I
wasn't given an option. I was told, you are going to college. I didn't want to go to college. I tried to fail my way out of college, I even screwed that up. But you're right. That was the path we were all on,
Right.
because our parents were, they were the boomer generation, and they worked their asses off, and they wanted better for us. And
Yes.
college was that path.
Right. And it was a source of pride for them to send your kids to college. That was a bragging thing that you got to say, I was able to send my kids to college because I didn't get to go. And, the way the system all is now, they've devalued it in so many ways. And of course, the liberal colleges are, you add that factor to everything that you send in these nice, well-adjusted, good kids, and they come out, just raging crybaby lunatics. So it's a hard pass. I'm glad my girls are past the age of that. I don't even have to worry about it. But it's at this point, if my kids were college age or college bound age, unless they needed that degree for a particular field that they wanted to go into, I would be directing them right towards trade schools for sure.
Yeah, it's not a bad life. You're gonna work, right? Which there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with working hard.
Not a thing.
But you're going to be financially stable. That's, you can always find work. And listen, everybody in the trades goes through tough times. Everybody's up and down. Wintertime, if you're in construction, always sucks. Because outside work, if you're working, is miserable, or or you may not be working. But either way, there's always work to be found. And oh, by the way, because our parents pushed so many of us into college, the trades are short. There's so many opportunities to work in the trades now because there aren't that many people going into the trades. So, there's a level of stability there. We've got a little bit off track on the college repayment plan, but that's kind of where we're at right now. And I am like you. My son has decided he wants to be a teacher, so he's gonna go to college. And again, because he needs that. He wants to be a teacher, so he's got to have the degree. Okay, fine. But my family, I've always been a proponent. If you're going to work. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Dirty hands are what built America, and it's what's going to keep America going. So, I'm not a fan of this repayment thing. But again, you're right. They did it smart. They took away the backlash. They made it hard to be pissed off about this because of the people that are benefiting from it. If you're going to cry about this, then you kind of look like a jerk. So,
yes. So bully for them.
Yeah. In principle, I don't agree with it. In this particular instance, if I have to support one of these, this is the one that I'm on the side of.
Yeah. If you're going to make us take some nasty tasting medicine, put that sugar in it, I guess. So, and they did at this moment, we'll see how everything plays out, and, it's exhausting, man. It makes me tired. All of the things, they make me tired, Clay. It's just so much all the time. This is why I laugh a lot, because otherwise I'd be like throwing things.
Right. So here's the curveball. And this is, you and I were talking about this. Here's the laugh. Here's the laugh of the week. John Fetterman is now like a raging, aisle spanning, the Democrats, he votes Democrat. The Democrats don't like him. The Republicans love him because he supports Israel. He doesn't like this guy from New Jersey that took all the bribes. He wants to, he's not,
wants to close those borders. He's talking about the borders.
Yeah. He's not a big green energy guy. Yeah. And listen,
dude has gone rogue.
I was never a fan. I'm from Pennsylvania. I live in Pennsylvania. I'm from Pennsylvania, but I live in Pennsylvania. And you and I talked about this, a while ago. I thought the guy was physically incapable, not just emotionally incapable. I thought he was physically incapable of being in office.
Yes.
He's proved me wrong there. He's proved me wrong on his mental capability. And he is the surprise of this Congress. Nobody. He's Mitt Romney. He's, what's his name from West Virginia? That's, as much a Republican as he is a Democrat. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody.
No. They are all sitting there kind of probably the same way we are and looking around going, what is happening? Where did this come from? I mean, what did he have? What was his thing? Did he have a stroke or something?
Yeah.
I mean, did that stroke change his brain chemistry or something? Like turn a good switch on in his head? Because this is not the Fetterman that we have known from the past. This is such an about face, or seemingly. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's maybe he's just been biding his time to get everybody tricked or lulled into thinking, this one way about him. And he's like, ha, 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 guess what, suckers? I'm just so blown away by all of it. And I can't help but laugh, because they have to be so furious, because they probably figured, well, we've got this big dumb doofus who is just going to sign things when we tell him to sign them, and say I when we tell him to say I, and he's going to be a good little Frankenstein monster, and he's like, no, not going to do that. It's crazy.
So he has, his voting record is straight party line.
Mm-hmm.
So don't misconstrue what he says with what he does.
Right.
But he has been very public about disagreeing with the direction that his party is going.
Mm-hmm.
But he has stayed party line with his votes. So, some of this might be, look over here, right? And then vote over here.
Okay.
It could be that. But it could be, if he's playing the long con, like you said, that would be one of the greatest long cons in political history.
It sure would.
In Pennsylvania, as the lieutenant governor, he was the guy who pushed recreational drugs. He pushed, he was that guy.
Right.
So he's not anything conservative. He is, however, the son of money. He comes from a very wealthy family.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he's got an Ivy League education. He lived with his parents till he was in his 40s. So,
That's awesome.
yeah. But he does come from wealth. So there may be a conservative in the closet kind of attitude with him that may be just coming through, as he gets a little bit older, and really, maybe he got to Washington, D.C. and he looked around and he's like, these people are friggin' crazy.
Right.
And he realized what he bought into. I don't know. I think we got to give it he's got more time in office. I think we got to give it another voting cycle or so, kind of pay attention to, his yays and nays and see where he goes with that. But publicly,
it will be interesting.
Yeah. Publicly, what's the opposite of a rhino? I mean, they don't call it a Dino. I don't think I've ever heard anybody.
No, I know. Yeah. That's
there's got to be a name for it, but that's what he looks like
it should be a Dino though. That would be perfect, right? Yeah.
So I've never heard anybody say that before, but maybe we just coined a new phrase. Yeah, I
think we did.
But he's still voting like a Democrat, but he sounds a hell of a lot like a Republican.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I almost wonder, is he testing the waters to see, if the winds of change might be blowing for him, and if they will blow in the right direction for him, favorably for him. So, like you said, let's watch, all of the upcoming votes, and where he leans and where he goes. And like you said, where his vote is, as opposed to where his mouth is, basically, but very interesting things from him that you could not have gotten me to put my money on for the life of me. I would have said, nah, not this guy. There's no way. But here he is, saying things and doing things, and very boldly he walked out. There was a video of him walking out, waving the Israeli flag through protesters, through Palestinian protesters, and that took some.
Yeah, it took some guts. Yeah.
Oh, you said it much better.
Yeah, I just it's an interesting turn. I almost wonder if he is, going to switch to an independent. I mean, that would be, truthfully, is probably where he sits in reality. And then, if he does that, then maybe he gets a little bit, he gets a little bit more leeway in what he does, how he votes. Right. But at the same time, the nice thing about being an independent is everybody kisses your ass.
Yeah.
Everybody. Both parties kiss your ass, because you have the biggest potential to be a swing vote. Right. So when the big ticket items come to the table, everybody's going to come. Majority whip, minority whip, they're all coming to your office to see where you sit and where you're going to vote, because you matter as an independent. You can be swayed. And maybe that's what he's looking for. Maybe he's looking to be the center of attention. I don't know. Right. But it is very weird.
He's what you call a sleeper, right? You did just come sneaking in with this whole different everything than seemingly different. We shall see, because you made a very valid, important point that, he's saying some right things, but his actions are still saying otherwise. So this is going to be fun to watch. Another one fun to watch. I feel like we've got like this board, this imaginary board, and we're
Fun
just switching their places, right?
Fun to watch board.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oof. So listen, we're doing okay on time. You think we can squeeze in one little fun topic in the last few minutes? Yeah, you think we can do it? Let's talk about Sports Illustrated, their print edition. What's going on over there? This is I wouldn't say it's a surprise. It's just simply a, we talked about this briefly before we came on air. It's a sign of the times, so to speak, and it's also a sign of the backlash, I think, for wokeism. And I know that the woke community gets so mad when we say that over on our side, because we don't understand what that means. Everybody understands what it means. So it's very clear. But what are your thoughts on that? We said it, right? They're closing down their print division. So correct. What are your thoughts?
What happened was they lost their license. The company and the big company, and then the company below that actually prints Sports Illustrated. Their names are very similar, and I always get them backwards. So one's like the Stadium Group, and one's something else. Anyway, so the lower was supposed to pay the higher an advert a fee, $4 million. Okay. No big deal. And they missed it. They missed the payment. So their license to print Sports Illustrated got revoked. So that's the mechanics of it. Now,
okay,
if there's a $4 million payment due, I'm fairly sure there was enough reminders sent to this company that they owed $4 million. This was not an accident, right?
Right.
I think the reality
they didn't have it.
No. Or somebody made a business decision that said it's not worthwhile to pay it. And I think this is kind of where you're going. So the sign of the times is print media to an extent is dying, right? It's not dead, but it is dying, right? Because of this, right?
Exactly.
Right? Sports Illustrated has an app. ESPN's got an app. CBS Sports has got an app. You can get all the sports stuff you want on your phone. You don't need to sit down, and most kids don't sit down and read a magazine. Right. So Sports Illustrated had one thing going for it, and that was the swimsuit.
And what was that, Clay? What was it?
That was the swimsuit edition. They're not giving away football phones anymore.
Right.
You're not getting VHS tapes with old NFL footage on them.
Right.
So
no, it was this right here. You ready? It was this. Come on. Yeah, sure. Of course it was that. Of course it was that. We all know it.
But what happened to that?
Well, this is what happened to that. And this is what happened to that. And if you don't know, that is a transgender performer that goes by the name of Kim Petras. It was things like that happened. And they were trying to, and not much unlike Victoria's Secret, who basically did the same exact thing. They wanted to appease and appeal to this particular demographic of people, and who like to say things to the rest of us and call us fat phobic, and all of the things that they love to label everybody else in the name of making themselves feel good about themselves. And the world, the viewing world, which in this specific case and with Victoria's Secret, you're talking about a majority of male population who have a very set, generally speaking, idea of what they find beautiful. So now you're telling them you're not allowed to find that beautiful anymore. You have to find this beautiful. And if you don't, you are fat phobic, you are transphobic, you're every kind of phobic we can come up with to call you. You are it. And, people do exactly what they do when they disagree with something. They simply show their distaste or their dislike with where they're putting their money. And so, it's just a logical course of action that you're not going to tell me what I like and what appeals to me. And you're not going to force me to spend money on something. You're not going to guilt me into it. And, here you go. And that is with all of these well-known Budweiser, Victoria's Secret, we mentioned, now Sports Illustrated. All of these companies who have decided to go this particular lane, I personally say, go for it. More power to you. If this is your audience, if this is who you want to appeal to, I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. Market to whoever you want to market to, whoever you think your target audience is. That's cool. I think that's great. But I'm going to make the choice to either support or not support, and I'm not going to be guilted, one way or the other. Simple as that. So that to me is, in a nutshell. And I'm sure there will be some people who hop in and get angry that, and say, oh, I can't believe you were making fun of this heavy woman. I'm not making fun of her. I'm going to show her again. I actually do think she's beautiful, but that doesn't mean anything. I'm not buying those magazines. So, I don't buy them anyhow. I mean, I didn't, and I just simply wouldn't, I guess. So, whoever your market is, if you're not appealing to them.
Yeah, it's consequences for your action. It's a business decision, and it backfired. Right. So, 4 years ago, 2019, Sports Illustrated was bought by the company that just lost the rights to print it. And it's been in a steady decline since 2019. There was layoffs, 30% layoffs in 2019. There was another set right during or right after COVID. And then now you've got this massive layoff where they have basically told everybody, either you're fired today or you're staying on through the end of your contract and then you're done. And that's it. So there was a couple of other missteps in there. It's been poorly managed. There's a guy that, I know, his name's Grant. He's actually passed away now. Grant Wall, who was the foremost soccer sports journalist in the United States, knew more about professional soccer and especially American soccer than anybody else. He worked for Sports Illustrated. He came out publicly and said, you guys are screwing this up. The company's being run poorly. They fired him. He'd been there forever, was again, the number one guy. They fired him. And so, it's not been well run as a whole. And now you've got this. I hate to say this. This is going to sound horrible. This was so much easier when we were just a bunch of misogynists. It really was.
Really was.
So you're dirty men because you like looking at women in swimsuits. Oh, right. Okay, fine. Right.
Yes. So, and the good old days when us women would just roll our eyes and go, yeah, you dirty old man, you.
Right. Yeah.
Who cares? Who cares?
Yeah. But like you said, then it turned into, body positive. And then, well, you have to support them because of that. If not, then you're fat phobic or you're transphobic or you're this or you're that. Right. So the whole new set of labels came in. And people voted with their feet or with their wallets in this case. And they said, you know what? I'm just not going to buy it anymore. I don't want that. Right. That doesn't appeal to me. I'm not going to buy it. And that's it. So, this may be the death of Sports Illustrated. It really, really might be, as tragic as that is. It's an American institution of sports.
Yeah, absolutely.
For decades, it was the standard of all sports journalism. And it is pretty much dead at this point. So it's a shame. Yeah,
all of the woke stuff set aside, if you can't look ahead and change with the times and kind of be ahead of the curve, I mean, you are going to lose your spot. You're going to lose your place in this world. And this is, currently and for a foreseeably long time ahead, it's a digital age. So if you can't move forward in the times and change your ways, then you fall by the wayside. And it's yes, it is unfortunate and it's sad, but it's simply the way that it is. And as always, we are absolutely invested in your opinions on these topics. So if you agree with us, disagree with us, what do you think of the Sports Illustrated thing? Is it a sign of the digital age? Is it wokeism? It is a combination of both. We would love to hear your opinions on it. And go ahead, call me fat phobic. I don't care. You're not going to hurt any of our feelings. We tell you this regularly. Our feelings won't be hurt. So say whatever you want. But oh my goodness, we covered a lot of stuff, man.
Chock full, right?
Yeah,
5 topics.
Yeah.
Hit 5 topics tonight.
We usually do like 3. Holy cow. All right. Well, hey there. You guys got a lot of stuff to comment on. We want to hear from you. And we look forward to bringing you more topics next week, as it never ends. Clay, you want to say goodnight to everybody?
As always, for me, thanks for listening, and keep moving, keep shooting.
We'll see you the next week, guys. Take care.